Now, I know that game week 29 isn't even over yet, and we've got an international break coming up. But I know you like watching FPL content on a Saturday evening or Sunday morning, so I thought I'd get this video out regardless. We're going to talk about players to buy and avoid ahead of game week 30. All right, we're going to start off by looking at the upcoming blank and double game weeks because, yes, fair enough, you know, we've got a couple game weeks time until the blanks and doubles begin, or the doubles again begin. But I think any transfer decisions you're making now, you have to do so knowing what your chip strategy is and how you're going to deal with these blanks or doubles. Or if you're not planning to use a chip, you're going to be wanting to buy players that have these double game weeks coming up, right? I don't think there's any point in buying players that don't double in game week 32 or 33, to be completely honest with you right now. There's one team, when you look at this list, right? One team that stands out by an absolute mile in terms of a team that you want to buy players from, right? And that's Crystal Palace. We'll start off by looking at the two assets from a defensive perspective that I think you should probably buy. That being Dean Henderson, I think, in goal. You know, there have been some outstanding goalkeepers in the game so far, but there isn't one that you can absolutely say is like outshining the rest of them. There are a few that are kind of there or thereabouts in terms of top point scorers. So I think for the next, 4 game weeks, game week 30 to 33, 31, 32, 33. That's 4, yeah, 30, 31, 32, 33. Bear with. He's potentially, let's just do the maths on that. My maths was terrible in counting it then. So game week 30, he's got a fixture. Game week 31, he's got a fixture. Then he's got 4 fixtures in 2 weeks. So what's that? 4 fixtures plus 2, 6 fixtures in 4 game weeks. So I think that makes him, the fact he's got 6 games in 4 weeks, that probably makes him the best goalkeeper in the game for the time being. I mean, I just don't see how that's not the case. And when you look at Crystal Palace, you know, they've kept, well, you can see there, Munoz and Henderson have kept 9 clean sheets in total, right? They're pretty good defensively, are Crystal Palace. And people complained at me at the start of the season when I was saying this about goalkeepers. But the best kinds of goalkeepers in FPL are the ones that, you know, they keep like an average amount of clean sheets, right? But they get consistent saves bonus. And you can see on the left, I've split the stats, goals and assists and shots on target for Munoz, and then saves and saves per 90 for Dean Henderson. 2.82 saves per 90 for Dean Henderson is basically, you know, averaging a saves bonus point per game. And he's kept 9 clean sheets. So he really ticks that box of decent amount of clean sheets, consistent saves. And yeah, I just don't think there's a better goalkeeper for the next, 4 game weeks coming up. Yeah, I think he's great. And if you're, you know, looking to make a transfer in FPL, you probably want to do so thinking like 4 game weeks in advance. So this is ideal timescales to look to bring in Dean Henderson. And the couple of fixtures he's got before the doubles begin, he's got Southampton away in game week 30, which is obviously, well, we all know that it's Crystal Palace. All these players have Southampton away. He's got Southampton away coming up in game week 30, and then Brighton straight after that. I think there's a couple of good fixtures there. Yes, Brighton is kind of the Crystal Palace derby fixture. They probably don't keep a clean sheet in that one. I think that game is like perpetually 1-1. But I do think he gets a decent amount of saves there, and you're straight into 2 double game weeks in a row. And then you got Munoz. I don't think there's a better defender in the game right now than Munoz for the next sort of 4 game weeks looking ahead. You know, same fixtures as Henderson. I think there's points in the Southampton game for sure. You know, potential attacking returns. In fact, similar to what we said about Dean Henderson, right, being a goalkeeper that can get saves and clean sheets, Munoz is someone you can rely on to get attacking returns. He's got nearly as many attacking returns this season as he does clean sheets. So yeah, 9 clean sheets, 8 attacking returns, 3 goals, 5 assists in 27 games. So what's that? 8 plus 9, 17. 17 returns if you add up the attacking returns plus clean sheets in 27 games. I think that's a pretty good level of returns. And you bear that in mind with the fact, similar to Dean Henderson, he's got 6 fixtures in 4 weeks. Yeah, you can't really look elsewhere than Daniel Munoz. And I think 5 million, it doesn't really matter how much his price goes up by, to be honest. You know, I think with that amount of fixtures, you know, how dangerous he is from an attacking perspective, I think you just got to go for him. So we've spoken about 2 defenders, and I think you're kind of left with a decision to make on who are the best 4 or 3 Crystal Palace players. I think right now there are 4 genuinely pickable ones, maybe 5 if you count Eze, but I I don't massively trust Eze in his fitness record this season and in seasons gone by. So I think the two outstanding Palace attackers would be Ismaila Sarr and Jean-Philippe Mateta, right? I think those are the two to go for. There's admittedly 2 million of price difference between the two of them. And when you compare their stats side by side, 11 attacking returns for Sarr, 14 for Mateta, at like face value, there's not too much difference between them. But I just think Mateta is levels, I was trying to think of the right word, just say levels above Ismaila Sarr for me, and totally worth that 2 million in price difference. And I don't, you could go differential with a different Palace player to try and be different to everyone else, but honestly, I think having Dean Henderson, Munoz, and Mateta in your team, maybe if you don't have to do it for game week 30, if you're looking to wildcard in 31, maybe. But I think having those three in your team is kind of essential, really. I don't see how you can build a good FPL team without those three in it. Yes, Ismaila Sarr is perfectly decent, but I just can't justify why you would want to pick him ahead of Mateta, Munoz, or Dean Henderson. I think those other three are just absolutely levels above. And Mateta, by the way, he's been in sensational form in recent games. Obviously got that pretty horrific injury against Millwall, but I think he'll be absolutely, he's got an international break to fully recover from that injury and be back for game week 30, right? So I think there's no question that he'll be back for game week 30 and absolutely ready to go. And I'm pretty sure the manager said, or Glasner said, that he is sharing penalty duties with Eze, but I'm pretty sure Mateta took the last penalty. So whilst, the penalty duty might be shared between them, in inverted commas shared, I think Mateta's had them recently, and I would back that to continue, to be honest. And again, we spoke about the fixtures they've got. I think they're pretty good, right? Southampton and Brighton, two teams that aren't the best defensively by any stretch of the imagination. Southampton, literally, I think, going to end up the worst team in Premier League history in terms of total points and just in general. And then 2 double game weeks straight after that, yeah. They're looking really good, Sarr and Mateta, but I think you got to go Mateta. And just going back, I think, yes, again, you could go differential, but let me know in the comments if you're going to go differential on your Crystal Palace assets. But for me, I just cannot look past Mateta, Munoz, and Henderson as a Palace triple up. One other point of conversation I think is worth going over is the captaincy for Game Week 30. Now, I'm not saying everyone did this, right? I probably would say it's actually the minority that would have done this, but there was a lot of conversation about people potentially either, number one, selling Salah in order to get Haaland in for Game Week 29, or suggesting that they want to get Haaland in because, yes, he's probably the best captain for Game Week 29 on paper, but also because that Leicester fixture looks really good. And I would agree, Leicester at home is probably, other than obviously Southampton, the best fixture you could possibly ask for. But do you really think he is the best captain for Game Week 30? I mean, I'm not convinced. I didn't sell Salah. I've got nearly 1 million gained in Salah, which means, well over 1 million gained in terms of value on Salah. So if I sold him now, I'd lose out on like 0.6, 0.7 million. So I didn't sell him for 29 for that reason. And also, yes, fair enough, Haaland's got a great fixture, but I still think Salah is the best captain, right? Everton at Anfield, yes, they did really well at Goodison Park. It was the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, but there's nothing like that narrative around this game. I think Liverpool will be absolutely going for the jugular in that one because they're out of the Champions League now. They've obviously got the cup final to go this weekend, great, but they win that. What do they have left? They have to chase a really good end to the season in the Premier League. And, I don't know. Are they still on for, like, the points record, for example? Something like that? I guess they could do that. They've only lost, like, 1 game, haven't they? So, I think, they're going to go guns blazing in that game against Everton, in my mind. And, yes, Everton have definitely improved. No question about it, definitely improved under David Moyes. But actually, I say they've improved. I don't think they're as good defensively as they were under Sean Dyche. It's just the simple fact of the matter is they're scoring more goals. So I actually think if Salah was playing Everton at home against a Sean Dyche Everton, I'd be more convinced to captain Haaland than I am at the moment because he's just broken the FPL points record from playing 29 games. He's still got 9 games of the season left to go, and he's already broken the point scoring record, his own point scoring record, right? The guy's just an absolute animal, and I don't see any way you'd captain Haaland ahead of him. And I'll go one step beyond that as well. I struggle to justify even buying Haaland at this point. I really would. 14.7 million, right? And it goes back to that old argument. I am someone that have probably had Haaland in my team for probably the longest of any content creator you're going to see on YouTube. I think I held him right up until like game week 20, something like that. I really kept faith in him and it didn't pay off at all. So I feel like one of the most qualified people to say this, but you really don't need Haaland in your team if you're not going to captain him. And I think the only occasion where you might is game week 33, where he's got a potential double game week of Everton and Aston Villa. But you look at potential other players that have a double game week in that time. You've got Mateta, Bournemouth and Arsenal. Even Villa, right? You've got Watkins, Newcastle, Man City. You got, who else we got here? Bournemouth, someone like Cliver with Crystal Palace and Man United. Arsenal, I imagine Saka will be back by then with Ipswich, Crystal Palace. Man United, Bruno Fernandes with Wolves and Bournemouth. You know, those are obviously the possible double game weeks that are there. You know, I'd expect at least some of them to fall. Oh, let's give it away another player. We'll skip over that. You know, would you really bring in Haaland and spend all that money? I don't know. I guess one thing that does make it easy is Cole Palmer's current dip in form. And at the time that I'm recording this video, it's on Saturday evening. Palmer obviously hasn't had his game yet. Pretty sure he's playing on Sunday. So unless Palmer absolutely keeps being rubbish, then there's probably a justification to get Haaland in for him. But I go back to the point. Unless you're going to captain him, I don't think he's worth spending that money on. I don't know. I wanted to give myself credit for this one. I didn't really mention him too much in my later videos throughout the week, but I was bigging up Anthony Elanga going into game week 30, or 29, sorry, when I made my players to buy and avoid video last week, because I just felt he is the best Nottingham Forest midfielder, in my opinion. You know, people probably going on Gibbs White against, did okay, I guess, against Ipswich, but, you know, for me, Elanga is the strongest of the Nottingham Forest midfielders. And yes, he doesn't have a double game week, don't get me wrong. But I think Man United and Aston Villa, next couple of fixtures. Man United, I mean, we all know how rubbish they are, right? If you need a 1 week, maybe 2 week punt before wildcarding or using a chip, I think he could be a good option. I kind of just wanted to give myself credit for saying Elanga was a good option. You can see there, you know, 5 returns in his last 6 appearances. Nothing to be sniffed at. He comes in at 5.3 million, so he's super cheap, and he's only 6.1% owned. And finally, I can't say I'm all that excited about Strand Larsen, I'll admit, but, you know, with Cunha being suspended, although he might be back, well, he's back relatively soon. But I think if Strand Larsen keeps the form up that he obviously picked up against Southampton, I think he could be starting alongside Cunha. And at 5.2 million, Wolves, I know they don't necessarily have a double game week or anything. It might potentially come later in the season, but it's unlikely. They do have the best, in my mind, the best run of fixtures to finish the season. And those next 5, despite there not being a double in there, I think are still really strong. West Ham, Ipswich, Tottenham, Man United and Leicester. None of those 5 teams you'll see in there. They could beat Wolves, fair enough. But none of those 5 teams there, I would say, are anywhere near strong defensively. So, yeah, obviously scored a brace this week. I would also like to apologise to people on my stream that I put off buying him, because I said on my stream that he just wasn't a good option. But I think after that good performance against Southampton, you know, he's got a chance, I think, of solidifying himself in that Wolves team. I think he's got a chance, to be fair, even when Cunha is back, I think he's got a chance of playing alongside Cunha. So yeah, had to mention Strand Larsen. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. You know, it's a little bit shorter than my usual buy and avoid videos, but we've had less games this week because there are multiple teams blanking. And also, it's an international break coming up, so there's not a whole lot of narrative to talk about because we've just got a week off, basically. But I thought it would be useful to cover some of the key points, I think, going into the double game weeks we've got coming up in the international break. So, yeah, let me know in the comments if there's any players that I missed. And also, who did you captain today? I think most people would have had a captain today, or maybe Bruno Fernandes tomorrow. So let me know in the comments who your captain is and how they've gotten on or what you're expecting from them, because I had Chris Wood and he's not done very well at all. In terms of upcoming content, I will go live. If you're watching this on Sunday, it probably would have already happened. But I'll be going live around 10:30 a.m. UK time on Sunday morning for a reaction stream. My game week's gone terribly, so you can all laugh at me together on that. And then I might do a little transfer plans or ultimate guide video to go out on Sunday evening. just to keep things ticking over. And then I'll probably have a few days off content because everything's been a bit crazy in my life recently, so I could do with a little break. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you did, leave a like rating. And if you haven't already, want to see more content from me, you can subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. Should be around there on your screen. That just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in my next video.